Seeing quorum, the meeting is officially called to order. This is a regular meeting of the Community Redevelopment and Housing Commission. Today is January 23rd, 2019. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Madam Recording Secretary, can you please take roll call?
Commissioner Aguinaga.
Here.
Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Ramos.
Present.
Commissioner Santana.
Present.
Commissioner Ursua.
Present.
Commissioner Tardif.
Present.
Commissioner Limon.
Present.
Commissioner Frazier.
Present.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Present.
Thank you. You have quorum. May I just, if when you speak and you speak directly on the microphone, make sure that it is on when the recording, it makes it really difficult when it's not read well. Thank you.
And did we record that Commissioner Garcia is present as well?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're getting back heat from that mic. Just, I think we're getting back heat from that microphone. It's just echoing.
Thank you. It is now time for the Commission to consider matters under consent calendar, items including 1 through 5. Do any members have any corrections to the minutes, items they wish to pull for separate discussion or abstain on?
I do have a request to pull items from the consent calendar.
Which item, Commissioner Ursula?
I saw, if you wouldn't mind the update from our homeless services manager, and then also our quarterly report for Housing Choice Voucher Program.
Thank you, Commissioner Ursula. I would also like to pull the quarterly report for Housing Division projects and activities. Does anybody have any corrections that they would like to make to the minutes? I had a question regarding the minutes, maybe for our legal counsel, but under the business calendar, there's a description as to why myself and Commissioner Ursua recused ourselves from that conversation. And all it says is Chair Ramos and Commissioner Ursua recused themselves from discussion of items under business calendar due to the connection with the awards being presented. Is there a need for clarification there? I feel that description makes it seem as if we were connected to those selected awardees or those that were being recommended.
Thank you, Chairwoman Ramos. I actually revised that or reviewed that statement in the meeting minutes before it was published, and I didn't see the need to expand upon the connection, so we just left it as connection. But if you want us to expand upon, to put due to a conflict of interest with the awards being presented or some other verbiage, we can change that. But
Okay, I was just wondering if that was descriptive enough.
I thought so, but again, if you'd like us to change it, we can.
Okay, Commissioner Ursua, do you have any thoughts?
I think it's fine as is.
Okay,
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any other corrections that they would like to make to the minutes? Okay, seeing as there are none, do I have a motion to consider items 1 through 1 through 2.
Excuse me,
Yes.
Mr. Chair. Homeless Services Manager has an update, a verbal update.
I believe Commissioner Sua asked that to be pulled.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Thank you.
Am I correct, Commissioner Sua?
Yeah, that's right. I
Yeah.
don't know if I did it correctly, but I assumed that if it's a verbal update, it would be said. So I don't know if it's part of the consent calendar or not.
Yeah, we meant to put that under the business calendar. It was
Okay.
my
Great,
mistake,
great,
so no
thank you.
problem.
Thank you. So we'll hear that verbal update during the business calendar. So we pulled items 3 to 5. Those will now be under the business calendar. Do I have a motion to consider items 1 through 2? Do I have a motion to consider items 1 through 2?
I move.
Thank you, Commissioner Aguinaga. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Tardif. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Matter is approved by unanimous consent. The next order of business is consideration of the regular business items. Would we begin in the order in which the items were pulled?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll begin with our new item number 1, which is a verbal update from our homeless service manager.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So my name is Hafsa Keika, and I'm the Homeless Service Manager. So we have a really, really wonderful verbal update. First of all, I'd like to thank those of you I was informed is going to be going to the point-in-time count. If you haven't already, the point-in-time count is led by the county. It's a national effort. Many different continuums throughout the state have this designated week to count all the sheltered and unsheltered homeless population, hence the shirt. And I know Commissioner Santana was also out there this morning. It's a great opportunity to be able to understand the plight of people who are experiencing homelessness and the need of affordable housing. So it's really great to be able to see that. It's also going to happen next tomorrow as well, and if you want more information, I could definitely provide it. But just FYI, our housing manager was out there 4 a.m. this morning, and a lot of staff was out there, and the count that the county showed as of this morning, there's going to be another one at 7:30, countywide was 1,542 surveyed. So I definitely imagine this number to go up, but that's just an idea of currently, as of this morning, how many folks were unsheltered and on the street. Out of that, they were able to calculate the 105. This is countywide, not just central. 152 were senior, 105 were veteran, and 52 youth, which are ages between 18 to 24. So all of this data is in the Orange County website, but it's led by CityNet, just giving you an update on that. As for the City of Santa Ana, I am so proud and pleased to present our data dashboard for the LINK, which is the interim emergency shelter that I talked about at the last commission meeting. We have been functioning now for 69 days, and we have, this is historical, typically a shelter doesn't amp up so quickly. We know that the construction happened within 28 days, and as of 69 days, this is the data dashboard. I know you can't really see it, but if you go into our website on homelessness, you'll be able to see that there's an increase of outreach and enrollment. We have 166 people who have been enrolled in the program, 143 bed nights. That means 143 people slept at the shelter. So this is really good for us to get people off the streets and into a program that provides provision of services to get people back on their feet, and supportive services like mental health, substance abuse, recovery, employment services by Mercy House. And then I wanted to inform you that out of those folks, there's about 10 who were able to sustain permanent housing. And out of that, just this past in December, we were able to get 2 people into the Orchard, which is obviously one of our greatest projects, and then 2 additional one over the weekend. Also, as you may know, in the summer, I kind of talked about the mainstream vouchers that Housing Division and Homeless Division went after with the grant funding, and we were awarded. And with that, we were able to connect 17 people from the link to those vouchers. It's a process, but those referrals have been made. So we have been successfully able to show a system of care, getting people off the street into a shelter and connected into permanent housing. So that's just a brief update that I wanted to inform you guys, but it's a robust update because it does show the efficacy of having a homeless services work in conjunction with a housing division. Questions? Okay, great. Yes.
Go ahead. Yes.
You're talking about 3 steps, which is getting off the street, and then what was the second step?
Well, ideally getting people off the street into shelter and into affordable or permanent housing. Oftentimes people could skip the shelter as well, but that's just something that we see.
When you're talking about permanent housing, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? That's one question. And the other one is, do you have any resources to get them doing something, like some kind of work or something?
Yeah, absolutely. So permanent housing is when someone has housing indefinitely. It's permanent. There's affordable housing in permanent housing, so there's permanent supportive housing. That is typically when a person who may be of low income is able to sustain housing with supportive services. There's tenant-based and there's project-based, right? So our Orchard project, which is a conversion of the motel, has 75 units project-based. Through Justin's strategic vision and years of work with different developers, we were able to have the grand opening of the Orchard last February 5th. And so that basically means it's a construction of building where the supportive services are on site. So people who are homeless, they're able to go, and oftentimes people who are homeless and they're able to live in that supportive services site, it's really helpful because what happens is sometimes people have mental health issues, sometimes people have medical health issues. You're coming off the streets, there's a reason why you're homeless, right? And so you may wake up in the middle of the night and you may have anxiety or you may have depression. The supportive services are on site. So it really helps to provide a conducive environment to the healing of the person. And then there's obviously the tenant base, which is essentially an individual who's connected to a specific voucher, and there's housing navigation that's connected to them to be able to go find an apartment and work with the landlord. And so the link, we were able to already connect people to the permanent supportive housing with Project Base at the Orchard, and then also the 17 referrals of the mainstream vouchers that a homeless and housing division went after in the summer and was granted by HUD. So it's really exciting that we're doing wraparound services. To your other question on supportive services, absolutely. We have Mercy House, who has case managers and social workers who are working with people who are getting them job ready, even rapid rehousing. So they're able to get a couple of hours of work and then be able to get back on their feet slowly. So those are just some of them. And there's definitely a lot more information on the Homeless Services webpage, and it looks really good.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
I have a question. Sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Tardif.
Thank you for your Thank you for your presentation. I'd just like to mention I was able to go on a tour of the link last week, and I was very impressed with the entire setup. And it's very clean, it's very open, and it's a good way to get people started to get back up on their feet. And as you say, Mercy House was there. You had a lot of people there, and they seem to be doing a great job.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Tarver. It's definitely a collective work, and I'm so proud to be working in collaboration with Housing Division. The affordable housing opportunities really provide a place for people to be able to exit these shelters and into actual permanent housing. Commissioner Ramos?
Yes, I had a question as to, and I'm sorry if you already mentioned this, but if I were to see a homeless individual out on the street, and I were to talk to them about the link, or they express interest in entering the link shelter, what does that process look like?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit last time. There has been a lot of political exposure to shelters, given Judge Carter, if you have been abreast of that. And so cities are being tasked to create different shelters, specifically to safeguard that population. So the main referral safeguard that we have is working through our Santa Ana Police Department HEART program, Homeless engagement assessment response team. And so what happens is anybody who is able to see an individual who's experiencing homelessness, they can connect them to the CityNet outreach number, because we do currently have a contract with them. And then CityNet is a collaborative along with the Illumination Foundation, Mercy House, to send that referral to our PD, who does the check that this individual is indeed from Santa Ana, because we are serving people experiencing homelessness in Santa Ana, and that's how the process goes. We'll be continuing to streamline the process. We've been very protective, so I'm very proud to say that this is a shelter that really services people who experience homelessness in Santa Ana, which has then created a regional approach to encourage other cities to create their own shelter, thus mitigating the impact that we had at the Courtyard here, which is a countywide program.
Thank you. And then I just have one request. I would appreciate if the commission was able to tour the new homeless shelter.
Absolutely. And actually the tour process is approved by me, so I wasn't aware. So absolutely, anytime there is a tour request, it typically comes to me, and then we have a process to get approval with the operating property and the developer or the owner. So I will definitely schedule that. Is it going to be all of you guys?
I would like to invite all of the commissioners.
Wonderful. Well, I'm really happy that you'll get to be able to see that. And I do want to mention that the link is one of its kind in this county. Typically, there's individual shelters. This services 90 men, 60 women, 10 beds for couples, and 40 for children. But it's designed in a way that's environmentally friendly enough to keep an exposure for the children away. And I just wanted to say a very successful story this morning. I personally was able to connect with a couple. A woman that was 8 months pregnant on the street and get her connected. And over the weekend, our SAPD, HEART, which is funded through some of the ESG outreach program, was really able to get many people off the street with best practices and into the shelter, including a 7-month-old baby. Okay.
And sorry, Vice Chair Santana has a question as well.
Thank you, Ms. Offset. I was wondering to see if you can also extend an invitation for a ride-along for the COLT team.
Oh, sure.
I understand that today was a great experience, and I would like to see how the case managers, social workers, how everyone interacts when approaching individuals to get them services. So it's something, if we can please invite the whole commission to, I'd be glad.
Yeah.
It'd be lovely to see the COLT team up in action.
Wonderful, thank you. And again, thank you for the commission to be very interested in the homeless issues. I really appreciate that. And we definitely want to encourage affordable housing down the line to be able to find a permanent placement for all the people experiencing homelessness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairwoman Ramos, I think Commissioner Fraser had a question.
Yes, I have a couple of questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't know that we had closed off the...
Oh, I'm sorry. Can we have you come back? I'm sorry.
Yes, Commissioner Fraser.
That's okay, thank you. More so to Chairwoman Ramos's point, I understand that they're being very selective with how they route people to the links. Is the address and the location still under a non-disclosure statement?
No, absolutely not. We've had media, feature it, Orange County Times, LA Times. It's actually on our website. That was really during the preliminary time, so that we were able to really safeguard any politics and really make it something for provision of services.
Okay, and what is the capacity for the links?
Yeah, the capacity for the link is 200. One thing to keep in mind that people are always going in and out of emergency shelters, right? Sometimes people are exited, sometimes they are connected to housing, sometimes they're reunified to their families. So it's a 200-bed capacity, but obviously the numbers will always change.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Go ahead, Commissioner Aguinaldo.
No, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cecilia. Okay, have a great evening. Thank you.
So now we're moving on to item number 4, Quarterly Report for Housing Choice Voucher Program, October 2018. I also noticed that there are some members of the public here. Welcome. If you have any, if you would like to speak on any of the items, please feel free to fill out a speaker card, and then you can also give public comments at the end of the meeting. Thank you. So moving on to item number 4, Quarterly Report for Housing Choice Voucher Program, October 2018 through December 2018. This item was pulled by Commissioner Ursua. I'd like to first give staff the time to highlight any items in the report if they wish to do so.
Thank you. Chairwoman, staff does not have a presentation on this item, but we're available to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Rousseau, would you like to begin with questions? Or is there anybody else on the commission that has any questions?
Great. Thank you for the report. It's hard to believe that the quarters passed so fast. I do have a few questions, or just things that stood out to me from the report. I don't believe we've asked this before, but I'm curious, for starters, on the household size. Noticing that over 54% of the applicants have 1 or 2 member households. That seems curious and a bit odd with family sizes being larger in Santa Ana. I know this list goes back a few years. Would you have any insight as to why those numbers are that way or how that came to be?
I don't. These are applicants that applied in July of 2015. And of those 5,000 applications, we have reports that are sorted by household members. And so sometimes I can say that is incorrect when the applicant is called off the waiting list and the eligibility starts. Sometimes there are more family members, but for right now, the application only has 1 or 2 family members.
Okay, so it does happen that once you start processing it further,
Yes.
there are more family members. Okay,
That has
that's
happened, yes.
Does it affect anything?
Just the family size, the unit size, I'm sorry. So, but it does not affect them in any way of not being processed because we don't have the correct family size.
Okay, so it might just be incorrect information. Thank you. I think another.
Commissioner Sura,
Yeah.
if you look at table number 3 regarding the participants who actually receive rental assistance through our Housing Choice Voucher Program, between 1 person and 2 person households is 38% plus 26%, so 54% of our households we assist are 1 and 2 person households, but the remainder are 3 people and above.
Yeah, that makes sense, and that number is still striking to me. That half over, a little bit over half of the folks have such a small family size. I was just curious if there's any insight into why that is. Thank you. Just one thing to point out, not necessarily a question, but on number 5, when we look at the income as percent of median, it was interesting to see that the 78% of the applicants have an income at less than 30%. So to me, when we have opportunities for building affordable house, or for opening up opportunities for affordable housing to be built, it's clear that number helps to indicate that it's a high percentage of families at less than 30%. So that was interesting to me.
And I would also add what that data also most shows to the community is the extreme importance of our Housing Choice Voucher Program to serve the lowest income, most vulnerable families in our community. The program across Orange County, between the 4 housing authorities, serves the lowest income families below 30% AMI, and that data shows that.
Right.
Whereas you see mainstream affordable housing projects serving families at 50% AMI, 60% AMI, and 80% AMI that don't reach those target income levels.
Right. Thank you. I did have a question on the inspection side of things. I noticed that 93% of the units failed their inspection, and my question has to do with what happens next at those.
It's actually 93 inspections of the 287.
I'm sorry, yeah.
And so what happens is if they fail the HQS inspection, we give them 2 weeks to do the repairs, the owner. If they need another extension, we will go up to 30 days. And then we do go out and do a reinspection until the unit passes.
Okay, so do they all end up passing after?
For the most part, yes, unless there's an issue with the repairs.
And in terms of looking at that data conceptually, a higher fail rate is generally a sign that our inspector is doing a very thorough job to find deficiencies in the assisted unit for the family that we're assisting. And a really low fail rate would be, that would be surprising. That would be more surprising to see than a high fail rate, if that makes sense. And we have a very thorough quality control program in which we audit 7 randomly selected inspections by our housing inspector each month. It's nearly 5 times the sample size that's required by HUD for our audits of our inspections. And we verify that our inspections are done accurately and correctly and fully, such that our units are healthy and safe for all of our assisted families. It's a very thorough quality control program, and again, that fail rate again is indicative of our inspector finding deficiencies in the units that the owners are required to correct to be in compliance with our contracts.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that it's such a thorough process. I think it's helpful to hear that, because it could also seem like many of our units are failing and are not having quality standards of housing for our families. So that would be worrisome. But you're saying that it's more so because the process is very thorough. Is there a chance that it's also, lack of quality conditions, or?
I think, I don't think there's any evidence basis that would say otherwise. So I would agree with that assumption as well.
Okay, especially if they are meeting, when they're making those corrections.
They do.
Thank you. I remember that we have talked about the termination or the end of participation, sometimes being for different reasons. So this is the end of participation for families. And I noticed that data is not available. If you might say again what the reasons for ending of participation might be, just as a refresher, even though the data isn't there.
So the reasons why they're terminating off
Yeah.
the program, they're either no longer interested in the program, the family is deceased,
Violations.
and the family is no longer eligible for the program, or the family is terminated from the program due to program violations. And I believe last month we did do one, not last month, but last quarter, we did send out all the reasons for all the, as requested, just to give you an idea, and that is every month. Those are the reasons for every month.
And digging into this data further for you, so nationwide, there's only 4 reasons. These 4 reasons that a family assisted by the program would end their participation, right? Become deceased, they're no longer eligible, they're terminated from the program, or they're no longer interested, or they move. Also, they can move out of our jurisdiction. So I guess 5, but. The least common one reason is of a family becoming self-sufficient off of our assistance, and that's nationwide. So our mission statement as our housing authority is, 1, to serve the most vulnerable members of our community, but 2, to use our assistance as a platform for families to improve their lives and achieve self-sufficiency. So we're trying to reverse that trend over time through the work and efforts of our workforce specialists to encourage our assisted families to use our assistance as a platform to become self-sufficient off of our program.
And so you do have that information. You are capturing that data so that you can see whether that is increasing or not. You're not necessarily.
Obviously we report the data to HUD, but we don't collect the data on a monthly basis now and consolidate the data on a monthly basis now.
Would you be interested in doing so in order to be able to meet that mission?
We would need additional funding in order to increase our capacity to do that.
Okay, thank you. And my last question has to do with the expired vouchers, and I'm recalling my question is, did you all mention before that it was difficult to find places that would accept vouchers? Is this also why those are expiring?
That could be one of the reasons.
So I have a follow-up question to that. I know I brought that up on multiple occasions. Is there any data available for what the household size was for these households that had vouchers that then expired?
No, not handy.
But is that data available?
As far as the family size, the household size?
Yeah, so my interest is in seeing if these vouchers expired because it was a family with a household size of 9. And that may
No,
be...
they all have, it ranges from a single person to a family of 6, 7 family members. But no, we don't track that.
Okay. So there's no way to know...
I would have to go individually and go back to all 36 of them and look up the family size.
Can that information be provided to us?
It could be provided to you on a one-time basis, but not on an ongoing basis. We lack the capacity to provide that on an ongoing basis.
Okay. I'd be interested in seeing that, at least on a one-time basis.
Sure.
And one quick thing to that also is, what can be done if it is the case that there's just not a lot of landlords accepting vouchers?
Sorry, that's a great question. So we need as much support to encourage landlords to participate in the program, and two other things we need. One, we need additional funding for the program to hire a housing navigator that could work one-on-one with our voucher holders to find and locate a unit in the community. And two, we need a landlord incentive program. We need a type of landlord incentive to encourage landlords to lease their units to Section 8 voucher holders. So it's those three items are key to increasing the ability of our families to find and locate a unit in the private market with their voucher. So marketing, funding for a housing navigator, and funding for a landlord incentive program.
Do you know of other cities that might also have any policies that are supportive of this? I don't know if landlords can be expected to, or if there's any policies that other cities might have to encourage as like incentives.
So, what kind of policies would you be referring to, though?
That have to do with housing vouchers. I'm recalling that you can't force landlords to accept housing vouchers.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a good start. Thank you. I was just curious if there was anything additional that other cities have been doing.
Yeah. No. Thank you. Thank you for that question. It's an important question and an important issue that our program faces as well as our other housing authorities. And it's very unfortunate when families we go through all the work to issue a voucher to a family, but they're unable to find a unit because they can't find a landlord willing to rent to them in the private market. It's also, of course, balanced by the vacancy rate in the community, that there's no vacant units for their household size as well.
Right.
So.
Thank you.
Commissioner Aguinaga, did you want to add something?
It's going to be a little quick because I'm a real estate agent. That's what I do. After I retired from the police. And in response to what
Commissioner Ursua.
Ursua. Oh, hi. Yeah, you cannot force the landlords to belong to the program. So on the other hand, it's easier for us to work with people who is willing to help us. But it's a voluntary kind. It's just like you own a building and you don't want to belong to the program. So
I understand, and I think I was wondering more. there's definitely tenant issues just nationwide, and I'm wondering if there's any, as a package or part of any sort of solutions that other places have thought about. But that was my question, and I don't know if it's to the scope of this, this report necessarily. But thank you.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Frazier.
I was curious, looking, how many inspectors do you have for the properties for the HQS inspections?
We currently have one inspector.
We have one inspector. Okay, so we have 2,500 units that are all required to be inspected at least once a year. Is that correct?
No,
or is it just a sampling once a year?
No, in Santa Ana, we currently have about 1,700 units on housing. The rest are throughout the county, portability, mostly with the Orange County Housing Authority. And of those 1,700 units or so, there are inspected biannual. So about 800 to 900 are inspected every year.
Okay. Having gone through this process a couple times at this point, being the tenant representative, who quality controls quality control?
One of the supervisors. So.
And what does that look like?
If I can clarify your question, Commissioner Frazier, can you restate the question?
So when an inspector goes to a property and inspects the property, and whether they give them a clean bill of health or whether they say there's issues that need to be fixed or ratified, at that point when the inspector brings back the documentation to the office, how is quality control over the inspector exacted? How does the supervisor, whoever's providing, who's going through their records to ensure that they're providing quality service and they're not in and out of the apartment in less than 5 minutes, just giving a clean bill of health? What does that process look like? Is the supervisor looking at reports and making a decision? Is the supervisor going out to the property and double checking, doing a sampling of themselves? What does that process look like, and how do we ensure that process is going along?
Of course, thank you so much for that question, Commissioner. So, HUD requires our housing authority to conduct something called quality control inspections. That's where a supervisor of our inspector, or one of our supervisors, conducts a random sample of the inspections that were conducted, the past inspections that were conducted by our inspector, and then we'll go and essentially conduct that inspection a second time to verify that it was conducted correctly and in compliance with our federal regulations within no more than 60 calendar days from the date of the original inspection. Now, HUD's sample size for the minimum number of inspections that have to be quality control inspections that have to be conducted by a supervisor is actually 32 for our housing authority. Okay. However, our housing authority in the previous fiscal year conducted 84 quality control inspections. And so, as I said a little bit earlier, one of our supervisors randomly selects 7 inspections that passed from the previous month in a random selection methodology that's documented and can be fully audited, and then we'll conduct a quality control inspection. And when they conduct that inspection, we actually go above and beyond HUD standards because in our program, we want HUD just asks us and requires us to conduct the quality control inspection and state that we did. Okay, we go above and beyond by actually evaluating whether or not there were deficiencies in the assisted unit at the time of the original inspection that passed. That were missed by the original inspector, and will pass or fail the inspection results for our inspector to improve their performance and provide them with continual guidance and training. So it's a very methodic, very thorough process that ensures that we're exceeding HUD's requirements for our quality control inspections, and that, two, we're achieving the final outcome that we're aiming for, which is to ensure the health and safety of all of our assisted units.
Thank you, I appreciate that. The only other thing that I had, and this may be complete hearsay and totally off deck, but I don't think so. I think San Diego had encountered the same problem that was brought up as far as how to get landlords to be more amicable to Section 8, and I'm just curious what possible solutions that they may have come up with, because I had heard tell that they had found some solutions that were working for them. I wonder if there's any way to investigate that further.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. We've been in discussions for about a year and a half with the Orange County Housing Authority and Anaheim Housing Authority about other best practice models out there. And the San Diego Housing Commission, as well as the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles and of the County of Los Angeles, have both implemented very effective landlord incentive programs to assist their voucher holders who are searching for a unit in the private market.
Okay, thank you very much.
Are there any other commissioner questions? Seeing as there are none, do we have a motion to approve item number 4?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion approved with unanimous consent. Now moving on to item number 5, quarterly report for Housing Division projects and activities, October 2018 through December 2018. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? No? Okay. Thank you. Seeing as there are none, does staff have a report?
Yes, our housing program analyst, Ms. Janice Eccles, will provide a report on this item.
Hi, I'm pleased to present this report to you. What I want to do is just focus on some of the quick highlights of what's changed or status updates for some of our larger projects. The first thing I want to bring to your attention is our rehabilitation program. This has we've had to put it on hold due to retirement of our senior construction loan specialist at the end of December. When he retired, we did promote the current residential construction loan specialist into the senior position, but staff currently lacks the capacity to fully implement this program. We do have 7 applications, and they have been notified that the program's on hold. City staff is currently looking at 2 different avenues to get it up and running again as soon as we can. First, we are moving forward with a requisition to fill the position. And at the same time, we are also preparing an RFQ for consultants to actually take on all of the services done by the senior construction loan specialist. Both of those processes will take about 6 months, but it is a top priority for the division. The next thing I want to bring your attention to, that's something we've added to the report, is an update on the Housing Opportunity Ordinance. As you know, this went into effect in 2015, and since it's been in effect, the total number of units that have, affordable units that have been developed on site as a result of the ordinance is 33, 23 homeownership and 10 rental. 9 projects opted to pay the in lieu fees instead of building on-site affordable units, and those in lieu fees have generated $13.9 million for affordable projects. If they had actually, by contrast, 26 market rate units have been produced or are under construction as a result of paying the in lieu fees. And if they had actually opted to build on site, that would have resulted in 200 to 400 more affordable units. So City Council has directed staff to actually evaluate the effectiveness of the Housing Opportunity Ordinance and report back in June. So that's currently under consideration.
Can you repeat those numbers, please?
Sure. So there, as a result of the Housing Opportunity Ordinance, there are 33 affordable units that have been built on site. 9 projects opted to pay the in lieu fees instead of building affordable units on site, and those in lieu fees generated $13.9 million. As a comparison, 2,600 market rate units were built during this time period. They're either produced or under construction. If they had opted to build on site instead of paying the in lieu fees, that would have resulted in the addition of 250 to 400 affordable units. And so that's why City Council has directed the staff to look at the effectiveness of the Housing Opportunity Ordinance to see if it's achieving what our goals are for the program.
When you say 263 very low-income units would have been created, are those units being considered at 30% AMI or 40% AMI, or both?
Well, it's a difference. There's different targets in the Housing Opportunity Ordinance for whether they want to build low or very low income. So I'm just kind of aggregating the numbers when I respond verbally.
So for the very low, is there, just assuming it might be 30 or 40?
Thank you, Chairwoman. I could respond to that. The 263 are very low, so at 50% AMI, with assuming a 10% requirement, and the 393 are at 80% AMI, assuming an 80%.
So right now,
no,
our
I'm
housing,
sorry, 15%.
our HOO doesn't require units to be built at extremely low. Correct? Just very low?
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Okay. The next thing I want to do is just bring you a quick update on the status of our project's multifamily units that are under development. The Santa Ana Arts Collective is 30% complete on construction. They provided an update that 4 educational sessions will be held in March to inform artists on how to apply for the housing. Applications will be due in June or July, and they are expecting occupancy to proceed in September 2019. So that's on schedule. The First Street Apartments framing is in progress, and framing is 40% complete. The Santa Ana Veterans Village, hopefully many of you were able to attend the ceremonial groundbreaking that was held on January 7th, and construction or grading has begun with that project. Aqua Housing is in the final stages of plan check, and they are expected to pull their building permits and close on their financing in early March. And Tiny Tim Plaza did successfully obtain their 9% tax credits, and they expect to close on their financing in April. So at the next quarterly report, we are, I should say, you should expect to see, hopefully, the addition of new projects that have been approved as a result of the RFP process. As you know, the Commission had recommended 4 projects for award at your December 19th Commission meeting, and 2 of them were approved by the City Council on January 15th, which is exciting. Those were the Santa Ana United Methodist Church project, also known as Legacy Square, and Francis Xavier. The remaining 2 projects that were recommended at your December 19th meeting are Habitat for Humanity and Budget In, and they are expected to go to Council hopefully on February 5th. And Habitat is on the agenda for further consideration and discussion tonight as well. Any questions?
Do any commissioners have questions for staff? Okay, I have a few questions. My first question is based off Table 1, which can be found on page 4-2. So Table 1 shows those applications that were sent out, received, and approved for a few of the city's programs, such as the single-family rehab, mobile home rehab, multifamily rehab, historic home restoration, and home ownership. So I'm just wondering how these programs are being promoted, how often they're being promoted, when and where.
So there has not been an active, well, let me back up. The loan specialist does go out and give workshops through the community and at the council chambers probably once a quarter, and at community fairs as well. This quarter, she did do an additional down payment assistance workshop in which 24 people attended, and she also performed outreach at a booth at the United for Housing Fair at the Orange County Fairgrounds. This is something that I noticed in the last report. They were hoping once I'm on board that we could look at a more concerted, targeted outreach program.
Okay, thank you. How much money is available for these programs, such as the single-family rehab and the mobile home rehab? How much, does the city have money set aside, or what does that fund look like?
So, thank you, Chairwoman. The city and the commission and the city council actually approves the allocation of the amount of funds available for the single-family rehab program and down payment assistance loan program through our annual action plan. And we would have to look at that plan to see exactly how much was allocated for this fiscal year.
Okay, thank you. And I can look for that as well. So I have a question of the mobile home rehab. Under applications received, it shows that there were 0 applications received this fiscal year, but under applications approved, it shows that there was 1 application approved this fiscal year. So did somebody have an application approved without turning in an application, or is that an error?
It's quite possible that application was received in the previous fiscal year and was then approved during this fiscal year.
Okay. And then also, can we send out, or can we request that the city send out a Nixle email or message letting the public know that these programs exist?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we could request to send out that Nixle to our city manager's office.
Thank you. I also have can you just quickly repeat the information that you shared for the Santa Ana Arts Collective project, specifically on, I think you spoke about an informational meeting that they'll be having in March?
Yes, so they have formulated their outreach plan, and it involves 4 educational sessions that they're going to be targeting to artists to get the word out about the Santa Ana Arts Collective and basically how to apply and what that entails. So those educational sessions are going to be held in March. Applications will be due in June or July, and then they are targeting occupancy in September.
Okay, do we know what that outreach plan looks like, or where are they targeting artists, and how are they targeting local artists that are a part of community spaces, or how are they? Yeah, I'm just wondering where they're seeking artists. So my concern is that community members that are local artists and may not be participating in the downtown art scene might not be outreached to.
We can follow up with them and get further information for you on specifically how they're doing their outreach. It is a requirement built into their agreement that they do have a preference for Santa Ana residents. Is that correct, Judson?
Yes.
Okay.
So I would just like to ensure that they're reaching out to non-traditional spaces like El Centro Cultural de Mexico that also has a lot of local artists there that may not be a part of their original outreach plan.
So target outreach to specific local spaces.
Yeah, so I would like to see if they have a list of spaces that they're targeting. It'd be great if the commission as a whole could see it.
Sure.
And if there are other local spaces that we are aware of that house local artists, we could recommend those spaces to them so that they can also do outreach there.
Sounds good. We'll follow up on that for you.
Thank you. And is there an update on where First Street Project is in regards to their interest list, or if they've released applications, since I know they're also slated to be complete with their construction this year?
We have not obtained that update yet. They're still pretty early in their construction process. They're still in the stage of framing. So I would expect that to come further along once they're closer to hitting occupancy.
So their anticipated construction completion is August of 2019, correct? I believe that's on page 4-10 for First Street Apartments. Exhibit 3.
Yeah, I see what your question is. We'll follow up with them and ask them for their marketing plan.
Thank you. Just because if they're on the same timeline as the Santa
Sure.
Ana Arts Collective, they might be a little behind. Those are all my questions, but I also just want to thank staff
Thank you.
for Exhibit 2. I believe the last time we saw this quarterly report, I requested information on when land assets were purchased and how they were purchased,
Thanks.
and I see some information being provided there, so thank you for that.
You too.
Do any other members of the commission have questions or comments?
I do.
Commissioner Tardy?
I'd like to thank you for the information you provided through Judson that the commissioners had asked for at the last meeting. That information was whether homeowners may have the option to purchase at the end of the 99-year lease for the Habitat for Humanity on Lacey Street, and what happened to the little houses that used to be on the side of Homemade, and clarify whether it is a requirement that rental applicants for affordable housing developments be residents of the city of Santa Ana. So I think the commissioners all received that information through email, and thank you for providing that, what we asked for.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Are there any more commissioner questions or comments? Seeing as there are none, is there a motion to approve agenda item number 5?
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Matter is approved by unanimous consent. Moving on to,
Chair Ramos, if you could please just note for record, actually, Commissioner Frazier is absent for that vote.
thank you. Recording secretary, thank you. So moving on to item number 6. Just before we move on, legal counsel, I believe this pertains to the RFP.
Yes, this is related to the same RFP from the last commission meeting where both yourself and Commissioner Urzula recused yourselves from hearing the item.
Okay, so I'm recusing myself from this item, and Vice Chair Santana will take over as chair.
Thank you.
I'll also be recusing myself. Thank you.
Would you like us to?
If you could, yes,
Yeah.
for formality purposes, if you could step down from the dais,
Thank you.
that'd be appreciated. Thank you.
For legal counsel, do we have enough votes?
You do, yes. There's 9 members of the commission, so you need 5 members for a quorum.
Okay, but we are the two don't
The housing
vote.
commissioners do count as voting commissioners. Our student commissioner does not count towards voting in quorum, but certainly can still be present and participating.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, well, let's get along. Next on order of business is to consider regular business items. The first item on the business calendar is item number 6, to approve a pre-loan commitment of $231,494 of affordable housing funds and a commitment for a 99-year ground lease to Habitat for Humanity of Orange County for development of the Lacey Street project, strategic plan number 5-3C. Will staff please report on this matter?
Thank you, Vice Chair Santana. So staff brought forward a recommendation at the December 19th, 2018 meeting to approve or recommend that the Housing Authority approve a 99-year ground lease agreement for our Housing Authority-owned parcel at 826 North Lacey Street. Now, the Habitat for Humanity had the day of that commission meeting, as well as again about 2 weeks after that meeting, met with staff and communicated that when they had originally submitted their proposal under our RFP that was due August 15, 2018, they had not yet met with the French Park Neighborhood Association. And it wasn't until after their proposal was already submitted that they meet with the French Park Neighborhood Association. Now, the RFP required that any applicant for that site would need to comply with the design guidelines of the French Park Historic District and will require review by the French Park Design Committee. So any applicant was required to meet with the French Park Neighborhood Association. Habitat did meet with their association, and the initial proposal that they submitted estimated a financial gap of $231,494. While the French Park Neighborhood Association's design guidelines actually required modifications to the project than the original proposal that they submitted to enhance the similarity of their project to to comply with the design guidelines of the association. And it actually increased their estimated financial gap from $231,000 to $325,000. Now, on December 19th, staff only recommended the ground lease agreement. After that meeting, Habitat met with staff and communicated that they don't have sufficient resources to develop this project as it currently stands, and that they would be requesting additional funds from the city now or in the future. And so staff met internally. We looked at the guidelines under RFP. We also looked at the available funds that we have for available under the RFP. And on January 14th, the city actually received a disbursement of $3.8 million of in lieu fees from the Heritage Phase 3 payment. And so with that those additional funds, which again under the RFP, it states clearly available affordable housing funds and land assets being made available in this RFP are subject to change. Staff is now recommending to amend the original award for Habitat for Humanity to give them the additional $231,494 from our inclusionary housing fund to make their project possible. That still leaves them with an estimated financial gap of $93,506. Our real estate advisor recently completed an analysis of their project, and the estimate but our real estate advisor found is actually $263,000, so we're still not fully meeting their full financial gap. But we do expect and anticipate that Habitat will address that remaining financial gap through their regular resource development activities. But these additional funds, this project will be feasible, and we are therefore recommending the additional funds in the amount of $231,494 together with the original lease agreement that was already approved by the Commission.
Thank you. Thank you. Does the Commission have any questions?
No, I think it's a great recommendation. I'm going to make the motion to approve the recommendation.
Thank you. Would any of the Commissioner, Ms. Monica?
Yes, I just had a comment or question. So I remember thinking back to December in that meeting, and we had an extensive conversation about this proposal. So they met with the French Park Association after we approved the project, or before?
So before. So they met, they submitted their proposal before our RFP deadline on August 15th. Okay, and then after they submitted their proposal, then they met with the French Park Neighborhood Association. And our review panel actually did consider their proposal after they had met with the French Park Neighborhood Association, their revised proposal. But our review panel was only at that time recommending the ground lease agreement due to the limited funds that we had available to award between the four projects that five projects that we were recommending.
Okay, because that seems like a significant amount of dollars that they miscalculated or didn't anticipate. So how can we improve that in the future and have it not happen that way? Or is it just because it seems like a lot of money?
Well, no, it wasn't a mistake in terms of the calculation. They again, their original proposal had a financial gap of $231,000, and it increased to $325,000 after they met with the French Park Neighborhood Association. But our review panel only had a limited amount of funds to disperse between the projects that are being recommended. And with those limited funds, every one of the projects being recommended got less than what they were requesting. And so in this case, the original recommendation by the review panel was to award only the ground lease for Habitat for Humanity instead of their financial request of $231,000. So it wasn't a mistake in the calculation. It was limited resources to distribute across the projects. But with the additional funds that the city received on January 14th, staff is able to recommend this additional amendment to their award.
Mr. Frazier? Mr. Tardif?
I have a question.
Yes.
Since we approved the ground lease in the December 19th meeting, do we need to include that in this motion here?
I included it primarily to make the item that's going to City Council as least confusing as possible.
Clean, one item.
Yeah, just having that item together as one instead of separately on December 18th and then December. So I just wanted to keep the item that's going to City Council as organized as possible. But we definitely will provide all the background information to Council as well, so that the amendment is fully explained to Council and the public.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Member Limon? Awesome. Okay. At this point, is there any members of the public that would like to speak on this matter? If so, you may fill out a request to speak form with the recording secretary. You have 3 minutes to speak. Also, we'll not accept any additional requests to speak cards once we begin the public comment session. If you haven't done so already, please give your form to the recording secretary. Do we have, Madam Secretary, do we have anyone speaking on this matter? General comments? Okay, great. So do we have a motion to approve item 6, to approve a pre-loan commitment for $231,494 of affordable housing funds and commitment for a 99-year ground lease to Habitat for Humanity for the Orange County for the development of the Lacey Street project, strategic plan number 5-3C. Okay, we got a motion from Ms. Aguinaga. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Second from Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. For council, I say that do we have 2 commissioners who abstained, or?
Yeah, if you can either announce who is not voting or announce the people who are voting. Either way, just it's clear on the record who voted.
Madam Secretary, can you do a roll call vote, please? Probably be easier.
Commissioner Aguinaga?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Here.
Commissioner Ramos? She recused herself. Commissioner Santana?
Yes.
Commissioner Ursua? She's recused. Commissioner Tardif?
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier? Absent. Commissioner Vasquez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes 5-0. At this point, I would call our chair. And Commissioner Zua.
Thank you. We're now going to be moving on to the public comments. Do any members of the public have any comments that they wish to share with the commission? Please know that you have 3 minutes to speak. May Carla Juarez please come to the front.
Hi, good evening. Excuse me. Good evening, council. Thank you for letting me speak. I just have a couple of things. My name is Carla Juarez. I've lived in Santa Ana since 1989, so it's been a long time. Here's the couple of things that your meetings are very informative, by the way. It's awesome. Judson, thank you very much, and all the staff that worked on it. In regards to the landlords that are not willing to accept the vouchers, I would recommend if we could do a survey of the landlords to see what their reasoning is, because not accepting a voucher that is at market value, I don't understand why wouldn't they want to. So, but maybe if you guys did a survey and find out more in depth the reasons why, maybe we can learn more from that and take steps towards, like you had mentioned, making them more willing to accept the vouchers. I also wanted to see if it would be possible, and I'm sorry if I'm jumping around, if it's possible, if we could find out who were the 9 developers who opted out and paid out the lieu fees, because that's very troublesome for me, because I've been here since '89, so Santa Ana is good enough for them to build their buildings, but Santa Ana residents are not good enough to live in them. So I think it's very important to be transparent and to notify everybody who opted out, because it is very important who is part of our community and who is pushing the ones that can't afford it out. Also, I had a really hard time looking for the HOO on the website, on the city website, the Housing Opportunity Ordinance. It says that there's a technical error, so I couldn't find it. So if you guys could please put it back on there. Also, in regards to those 36 vouchers that were expired, I worked in rent control, and I know I'm going to wrap it up. There's been a lot of families that have moved out of Santa Ana, and I'm pretty sure that there's either an intern or like even volunteers from the community that are educated and gone to school and all that are more than willing to help you guys out to finding out why those 36 were expired. Because I know many families that reasons why they couldn't was because they couldn't find anything in Santa Ana. And I think I lost my train of thought, but I want to thank you very much for your time and allowing me to speak, and thank you very much for all the work you guys put in. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. You were right at 3 minutes. Does staff have any comments that they wish to share with the commission?
Yes, thank you, Chairwoman Ramos. Staff have a couple comments here. First, I just wanted to go back to the Housing Division Quarterly Report when I stated that staff would be able to send out a NIXL to promote our programs. We can send out a NIXL regarding our down payment assistance program, but as we stated in the report, we're currently drafting an RFQ for the administration of our single-family rehab programs, while simultaneously issuing a recruitment for a residential construction specialist. So I just want to make that correction. But first is what everybody's hearing about on the news and everybody's reading about in the news as well, is in regards to the government shutdown. So if everybody had read this past week regarding our landlord newsletter of the information we provided to all our landlords, we are being very consistent in the information we are providing, that if the federal government continues on February 1st, staff will begin working immediately to draft a physical written notice as well as an email blast to our landlords and our tenants that we will send out on or around February 1st and February 15th. The commission will definitely get a copy of that notice, advising our tenants and landlords of the issue facing the Housing Authority for our March payment. Our Housing Authority has an obligation for over a $2.7 million payment that if the federal government shutdown continues, we will not have the funds to make that payment. On lighter news, I'd like to introduce our newest member of our team, Mikkel Daly. Mikkel?
Hi, my name's Mikkel Daly. I'm a community development analyst. I just started last week. I work with David Flores. We have the same title. I come to the city from the nonprofit sector. I worked in nonprofit for about 14 years. My last position was a grants manager for an organization down in South County that provided housing, hunger, and homeless prevention. So that's where I got my experience with the CDBG program. We dealt with 5 different cities that provided funding to us to help with homeless prevention and our housing programs.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mikkel, we're lucky to have Mikkel join us, and she'll be working side by side with David with particular attention on our immediate item and project before the Commission, which is the review and approval of the applications we received for our public service funds, the over $875,000 that the Commission allocates on an annual basis to nonprofit organizations in our community. So thank you so much, Mikkel. We have our Housing Authority Story of Success for January. Our Leonardo Sanchez, hope everybody got a copy of his story. Very inspirational family that is working hard to use our assistance as a platform to improve their life and the lives of the kids. And we are also excited to provide you with our 2019 calendar, which features a story of success each month and a quote from each family. We'll distribute these to the Commission after the meeting. So make sure to get your calendar before you head out. And I don't think I mentioned during our staff member comments last meeting regarding our graduation ceremony that we held on December 6th for our Housing Plus program. It was a very exciting ceremony. We had 4 graduates who were recognized, and it's always exciting to see families graduating from our Housing Plus program. Follow up on the City Council action items following the previous CRHC meeting. So on January 15th, City Council authorized the City Manager and the Clerk to execute a pre-loan commitment letter with National Community Renaissance of California National Corps with Mercy House Living Centers as a service provider for $3.1 million in inclusionary housing funds. Also authorized the Executive Director of the Housing Authority to execute an agreement to enter into a project-based voucher housing assistance payments contract with National Corps for the development of the project. And that was unanimously approved by City Council. And the City Council also authorized the Executive Director of the Housing Authority to enter into a 99-year ground lease agreement for the development of the Francis Xavier project to be developed by Homemade Orange County in partnership with Mercy House, as well as $1,069,000 in Housing Successor Agency funds in 3 project-based vouchers. That project was also unanimously approved. Staff are working together with Habitat for Humanity as well as Jamboree Housing to bring the remaining 2 projects to City Council on February 5th. And with the recommendation by the Commission for the amendment to the award for Habitat for Humanity at today's meeting, we are confident that project will be able to move forward as proposed by the Commission. Thank you to the commissioners who were able to join us for the groundbreaking for Santa Ana Veterans Village. It was a very exciting ceremony attended by Supervisor Doe, Judge Carter, the director of the VA, and Mayor Pro Tem Villegas, and several other dignitaries. Representative Lou Correa was there as well from the U.S. House of Representatives, and a very, very exciting ceremony for our commission and for our community. And lastly, well, two other things. We're right in the middle of the Orange County point in time count. It's great to see Commissioner Santana out there with me at 4 a.m. this morning, together with Supervisor Doe was on our team, and Sue Parks, the Executive Director of the United Way, and Vice President of Operations with Kaiser Permanente, and several other volunteers across the community were out there with us to conduct this year's point in time count. And in regards to hiring and recruitments, we're currently in the process of working to issue a recruitment for a residential construction specialist. That recruitment and job posting should be listed in the next couple of weeks. And with that, Chairwoman Ramos, I have no further updates.
Thank you, Judson, for your report. Are there any commission member comments? Commission members, please note that no member may speak more than once until all have had an opportunity to speak. Also, the commission may vote to limit our comments to 3 minutes each if we feel the need. So with that said, does anyone have any comments that they would like to make?
Are you talking about we were the commission?
Yes, so any commission members? Sorry if I said something else.
That's okay.
Commissioner Aguinaga, go ahead.
I don't hear the microphone. I just want to thank you for being here, and I see a new faces, and for the ones who don't know who I am, which is very important. My name is Cecilia Aguinaga, and I've been volunteering for the city for 25 years, on and off of the commissions. Richard Santana was my student. Now look at this. Sure, I interact with you on and off. I was here in the commission before. I know the only one that I know well. I mean, Commissioner Garcia. So I'm back. I'm back. Thank you so much. And I noticed that the next meeting is going to be on the 27th. So I know that I just brought me on today, and I'm not going to be able to be here. So don't be surprised. I will represent the city of Santa Ana, the vector control in Orlando, Florida. So I'm your trustee for the whole city. I represent the whole city of Santa Ana. I've been there on and off like 7, and then I started again. And I'm very proud to be helping the city of Santa Ana and different boards of thankful for you service to as well. So if you don't see next month, that's why. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here and be able to interact and be active.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia, do you have any comments?
I just want to thank staff and Judson for the reports and the information you presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Limon, do you have any comments?
I just want to say thank you for welcoming me on this commission. I know I haven't been very verbally active, I guess. I know I haven't been questioning things, but as I get more used to this environment, I can guarantee I will ask more questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Vasquez, do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Ursula?
Yes, just to also express my gratitude and thank you to staff for answering all of our questions and for your reports. Welcome to our commissioners, and if there's anything that we can do to be supportive of having a welcoming environment, let us know. I want to say thank you also to folks from the public who gave public comment, and to just reiterate some of those recommendations and questions around being able to survey our landlords, understanding what our the developers that opted out of the in lieu fees, the update on their website with the Housing Opportunities Ordinance, and the offer to support with finding data around the 36 expired vouchers. And I'm wondering how it is that the public would learn the answer to those questions if that's in the minutes. Is that something that you can answer?
So, in regards to the items that we received through public comment, specifically which item?
Well, for example, the list of those that opted out of the in lieu fees, is that information that would be made available in minutes, or how is it that the public might?
So if the commission is requesting that information, we can pull that information for you.
Great. Yeah. So please, if you can, and share with the commission, and then we can also help to share it in the community. Thank you for that, and thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you, Commissioner Ursula. Commissioner Tardif?
I'd like to thank staff for the presentations and the information. I'd like to thank the members of the public who attended and also those who spoke. I was wondering if, Judson, if you might be able to give us a little bit more information. You mentioned briefly about the government shutdown and the possible unavailability of funds for the March voucher payments. Suppose that the government shutdown extends, and is there an emergency type of, do you have any kind of contingency plan on that, or?
At this time, staff are planning, again, to advise our landlords in writing on February 1st and on February 15th. The content of that letter is going to advise our landlords of a stipulation in their contract with us that they are not allowed to evict our tenants for non-payment of rent by a housing authority. This information was also recently sent out by the California Apartment Association, or provided on their website. But at this current time, we have no plans to request any emergency assistance from the City Council to cover the responsibility of the federal government to make those rental payments on March 1st.
Okay, thank you. So basically, the landlords are not allowed to evict the tenants for non-payment by the housing authority?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and they know that the money will be coming through eventually.
That will be the assurance that we intend to provide them with as soon as the government reopens.
Right.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Santana?
Yes, I would like to echo Commissioner Urzula's comments. I would also like to include a big welcome to Commissioner Limon and Commissioner Aguinaga and our new city staff and those staff that have transitioned into your new roles. I would like to say that I'm very eager for the CBG process that's coming up, and I know we're going to be visiting some sites, and I hope to enjoy a good day going through those sites and through the whole process, and I hope the staff can be patient and bear with us, but we're excited that it's just around the corner, and I want to thank the city staff for their leadership on working with the county for a successful survey and this morning and hopefully this afternoon. That being said, that's it.
If I may, Chairwoman Ramos, on the CDBG application, David reminded me we want to just remind the commissioners to log into Foundant to create your account to review those applications that we receive through the process. And Commissioner Aguinaga, if we have not already, we will send you your login information for the Foundant account.
Thank you. I also have a few comments and a few questions. First of all, I want to welcome Commissioner Aguinaga. Welcome back. We're happy to have you here. I'd also like to welcome our new city staff. We look forward to working with you. And thank you, Richard, for mentioning the CDBG nonprofit tour, which is on January 31st from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I know that that's during school hours, so I don't know if Commissioner Limon would be able to make it. But if she were, are we as a commission or can city staff provide a letter explaining that absence if she was able to make it.
Yes, thank you, Chairwoman. We would be glad to provide that letter if she needs it.
Thank you. So Commissioner Limon, something to consider. I also had a few questions regarding the CDBG process. I believe when we last spoke about it, we decided that we would follow last year's process and have 2 separate meeting dates in February to review those applications. I just wanted to make sure that that's what we still wanted to do. And I don't know if dates were already shared, but I don't remember seeing them.
Yes, good evening. So those dates were reserved. They're February 24th and 26th, and we have an additional date, I believe in March, to do the final review of all of the applications and the scoring process to make the recommendations for the commission and to prepare the staff report for the city council.
Thank you. So here it says that our next meeting is scheduled for the 27th. So would we be meeting the 24th, 26th, and 27th?
Thank you for that question. I haven't. So we have right now on the February 27th meeting, we have potentially a housing-related item that we're seeking to agendize for that meeting. For what we're hoping for is our 1126 East Washington Avenue site. That was a part of the RFP process that we issued for affordable housing development. David and I discussed the same thing. What we could do if the commission, in order to not have the commission go for 3 days in a row, is we could add that item to the special meetings that are being scheduled on February, the day before and the day after. I think that would be a more efficient use of our time, and so we'll go ahead and add that to the agenda if we're able to agendize that item. So you could plan on the February 27th meeting being canceled, and any items that we intended to agendize for that meeting will be agendized with the special meetings involving the review and interview for the CDBG applications.
Do any commissioners want to comment on those changes?
No, I'll be happy with it because I'm not going to be able to be here on the 27th, which is a representation of the other commission. So when do you come to get the meeting to change it?
Well, we would simply send out a cancellation notice for the February 27th meeting, and then we will be publishing, of course, the notices and meeting notices for the 26th and the 28th. Yeah.
Is it 24th and 26th or 26th and 28th?
Check my calendar.
Sorry, I heard two different.
26 and 28.
26 and 28. Okay.
Do you have that?
And can you remind us of the times for those meetings? Is that still 3 to 7?
So it was again, we had conceptualized those meetings after discussing with the commission from 3 to 7 o'clock.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's to review the CDBG applications.
And just a reminder, that's going to be the time where the nonprofits, all the applicants are going to come in and do very short presentation to all the commission members to give you a little bit more information on what they do and what they're going to do in that application to assist you with making a decision of, how are you going to score them and who we're going to fund.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And can I just request that if it's not already planned, can we send out another Nixle reminder for that CDBG application deadline? Thank you. That's it. Just thank you for all your work and for your patience with all of our questions.
Could I add one more quick
Of course.
comment?
Commissioner
Thank
Tardif.
you. I'd like to give a special thank you to Commissioner Santana for keeping my water glass full the entire evening. It was very kind of you, Commissioner.
Yes, people say when the glass is half full, you must fill up with some water. So filled up some water for Mr. Tardif, and I gave him a kind bar, so he is
Yes,
well
thank you for
elemented,
that.
and he'll be nice and kind this afternoon.
Now, Madam Secretary.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Now I know next time I want to be sitting down next to Richard so we can put down my glass.
Well, do any commissioners have any last minute comments? No? Okay. Thank you all. With that said, the meeting is adjourned. The next regular meeting is scheduled for February 26th.